For this recorded discussion will be about the 19th century Philippines as Rizal's context. So here we understand Rizal in the context of his time. So in relation to the group activity, which is you presented different countries their 19th century, because why solely the 19th century? Because on this time period, it is commonly depicted as the birth of the modern life, as well as the birth of modern nation states around the globe. The century was also a period of massive changes in Europe, Spain, consequently in the Philippines, because it was during this era that the power and glory of Spain had weakened, both on its colonies and in the world. So every individual is shaped by a lot of factors, how the pieces of events make up a person, like the generation we were born, are we rich, do we have a loving family, who and what type of people surrounds us, current events, etc. All those factors, it shape who you are. So how did Rizal become who he was? He grew up amidst the Philippine struggle for independence and the shifting social, economic, and political landscape. So these changes played a role in shaping his perspective on life. We look on the social structure. We had the Peninsulares, the pure-blood Spaniard born in Spain. Insulares, pure-blooded Spaniard born in Philippines. Spanish mestizo, one parent is Spanish, one is native or Chinese. Or one parent is Chinese, other is native. Principalia, wealthy pure-blooded native, descended from Kadatuan class. So this is like a Visayan chieftain class or family. But the Principalia, mostly they are from the Datus, from the chieftains. Then Indio, pure-blooded native of the Philippines, or simply the Filipinos. Chino Infiel, non-Catholic, pure-blooded Chinese. So, of course, I think Rizal will fall under the Principalia class. But I think his ancestors, since he has this a blend of Chinese, Spanish, I think his ancestors fall in the Spanish mestizo. Units of the government. So the appointment of the officials are mostly hereditary, not someone who has great qualification. That's why it will be filled up by Governor General or who has the money to buy the position. So when they are now in the position, they don't even know the work ethics. So if you should be in the good side of the official, to be in favor to them or even reward you. But if you got on the bad side of them, then good luck with your life. Of course, no work ethics. There will be bias, discrimination towards employees or any corruption. They will pickpocket from the tributes from the lower unit of the government, or if there is excess when it comes to the tributes from the lower unit of the government. So economic context. So the end of galleon trade of the Philippines is already trading with the other neighboring countries, but upon the arrival of Spaniards, they closed down the ports except Mexico, going back and forth between Manila and Acapulco, Mexico. So the following economic context or the following import-export, you will see this serve as the income-generating business for Spaniards. So the other context that you will see under the economy in the Philippines, it is mostly export. So again, this serve as the income-generating business for Spaniards. I think we We export mango, tamarind, rice, carabao, or even the cockfighting, the Chinese tea, textiles, fireworks, tuba were introduced to Mexico. While in the Philippines, we got avocado, papaya, guava, pineapple, horses cattle from Mexico. So the trading hub is mostly run by Chinese migrants. So the Spaniards feared them, even resorting to kill them. Because they mostly, again, they run and work in the trading hub. I think the last time I saw the numbers are the I think it's 100,000 victims. So the Spaniards killed 100,000 Chinese because they are a threat to the business. Liberal ideas that gradually inspire independence and the decline of galleon trade was influenced by a lot of factors. But we can see that it ended with Mexico's war of independence towards Spaniards. Aside from um, war of independence, there is uh, the opening of Suez Canal. There is steamships, which made the travel between Spain and Philippines much faster and more efficient. So we had the again opening of Suez Canal. Before it will take months for Barcelona to reach the Philippines. So they have to go to the Cape of Good Hope. So later I will show you the map. We have a map in the slides later. So again, it lessened the traveling days. Then you will see the Suez Canal between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. So there is a growth of nationalistic desires because there is more imported books, magazines, newspaper from America and Europe that gave liberal ideas and affected Rizal and other reformists. So by this, it encouraged them to study abroad and learn in European academic institutions. Then rise of export of crop economy. So again, we do the maritime trading of our natural resources like sugar, abaca, coffee. So these are motivated by the North European and North American. So these people provided the capital, organization, access to the business partner who will be our foreign markets, or other sources of imports. Establish monopolies, the opium and tobacco monopoly. So this is just another aim to increase the government revenue. So the farmers only sold their produce to the government, leaving them with little or no profit at all. And nobody is allowed to keep tobacco for personal use because the Philippines tobacco was also prominent across Asia and parts of Europe. But the consequence, since it established opium and tobacco, is food shortage, as they are focused on planting tobacco rather than rice. Here is the okay, so we have the pen. So the galleon trade is here. We have the Mexico. So going to the Philippines. Then Philippines. Going to then the Cape of Good Hope. This is the Cape of Good Hope in this part. So they have two. This is the first route that they want. I think this is the first route that they already knew, but upon the construction of Red Sea, it is here in the Mediterranean Sea and this is the Red Sea. So the Suez Canal is here. So going to Spain. Okay, so again, we have the Cape of Good Hope, Africa. Cape of Good Hope. This was their last route going to Barcelona, but upon the construction of the Suez Canal here, so it shortened the traveling days. So the other things that you can see here, I think this is the treaty of the two major European countries. So we had the Spanish and Portuguese. So as you can see, they really designated, talagang hinati nila yung mundo para i-claim lang, parang they just have to explore this. Kumbaga, hanggang dito lang yung pwede mong explore at i-claim. So, wala na silang pake kung may civilization na dyan. Basta sila ay manghihimasok basta na-explore nila. So, we have the Spain. Ito ang sakop ng Spain. Yan. So, Portugal. Yan. Ito na sa Portugal. Yan. So, next, ito na yung pala, yung the route on the opening Suez Canal. So, yan, Suez Canal here. So, huwag yan ang pansinin ito. Yan, because the Cape of Good Hope is here. Going up to the Europe. Social context. So, education. To be educated by the Catholic missionaries teach how to read, write, and learn Spanish, but they didn't seriously teach the language, fearing that Indios would become knowledgeable and be equal to them. And of course, Catholic missionaries, compulsory subject, religion. Laws of Indies, the law is designed to govern the Spanish colonies in America and Asia. So, for example, in urban planning, what is the layout, the organization of towns and cities in the Philippines? So, settlements were often established in vacant areas or through forced resettlements. So, syempre, yung church, the government buildings will be occupying the central position or yung pinakagitna ng siguro na city talaga. Kaya minsan, nakikita din nung ibang historiador na kung mayaman ang isang Pilipino ay malapit sila sa sentro. O kaya naman under the laws of Indies ay ang pagkakaroon ng social structure, the hierarchy. So, syempre, yung at the top ay yung mga Spanish officials, mga religious leaders, while the indigenous people are at the bottom. So, yung ganoong sistema, nare-reinforce yung inequalities and control over the native population. Cultural under culture, mostly ang ginagawa ay kino-convert yung mga indigenous populations to Christianity. Educational degree, ilustrado. So, these are the educated natives who seek independence from Spain kasi naiinggit sila sa democracy na tinatamasa ng ibang bansa na sana hindi sila inaapi o dapat tinatrato pala dapat ng tama kung parehas lang yung pagiging liberal. O kayo naman, galing din naman sa kanila yung mga imported books, magazine, etc. Pero bakit iba pagdating sa Pilipinas? Educational decree of 1863. So this is the attempt of Spain to modernize the Philippines during the 19th century. Before this kasi, education was informal, private, talagang naka-reserve sa mga elites or those who are pursuing religious vocations. So, itong decree, it aimed to transform the Indios into productive o talagang maging subject sila ng Spanish crown. Though ito na yung start ng talagang contest between the colonial government at Catholic Church. Kaso nga lang ay ineffective kasi nga friar pa din ang mostly namamayagpag sa government. Kasi nakapaloob din naman sa educational decree yung Catholicism, Spanish culture, pero nire-require na naman na magkaroon ng primary school for boys and girls sa mga syudad o sa mga kada syudad. Kasi kailangan na din nilang mag-iba yung curriculum because they are approaching modernization. And of course, the Industrial Revolution, they have to upskill the workers. Kailangan ma-introduce yung iba't ibang lingwahe, natural science, literature, philosophy, because of these ideas it shows nationalism and humanistic in nature. Rise of Chinese mestizo after the galleon trade, Manila open to foreign merchants. So there is more demand for sugar and abaca, like the Rizal family. It is owned by the Chinese Filipino mestizos. The Ilustrados were able to send their sons to Europe for higher educations. O talagang yung wala talaga sa Pilipinas. So since nagpunta sila sa Europa para mag-aral, naging miyembro sila ng masonry at naging active sa propaganda movement. Yung mga mason kasi ay masonry, they are free thinkers. They are reason over religion. Talagang they are the free thinkers. They don't believe in God, pero naniniwala sila there is a great architecture of the universe. So, dahil nga si Rizal ay nakikisalamuha sa iba't ibang tao, doctors, etc., syempre, as they talk, communicate, nalalandinan. Kumbaga, unti-unting nababago, nagkakaroon na ng dagdag information itong si Rizal about different ideologies. Inquilinos, the tenant, they have the right to use the land in exchange for rent. After the galleon trade, different crops were produced. So many estates turned into inquilino system. So sila yung nag-oversee ng production of cash crops by subleasing from friars then to indigenous farmers. Since kalimitan kasi sa mga Espanyol absent, so the work goes to the administrator. So they would collect the rent, organize the delivery, i-remit ang income, and rents to the estate owners. But not all naman ay really good inquilinos because they are somehow irrational. Some are irrational by asking excessive demands from the indigenous. Of course, we have the Mercado family of Rizal are one of the inquilinos on their Calamba Hacienda. They have hundreds of hectares, so giving Rizal and the other children to live comfortably and education. Because again, at that time period, education is a status symbol. So, educational system of Philippines and Europe. So, this is the contrast between colonial preservation and revolutionary modernization. While Europe was undergoing yung sinasabi nilang intellectual thaw of enlightenment at yung pragmatic events ng demands ng Industrial Revolution, ang Pilipinas naman daw ay it is still looking. It is still navigating a system designed primarily for religion. Talagang religious submission, social control. Kaya makikita nung yung educational system of the Philippines during the 19th century, education was really a tool for evangelization and maintaining that status quo ng church. That's why the educational system, the one who authorizes it is the church to produce obedient subjects na mag-focus na lang kayo sa inyong afterlife. Then, that kind of education is reserved for the Principalia and Illustratos. The curriculum was heavily weighted toward catechism. There were science and math, but secondary lang, as Rizal shared that they studied instruments behind glass cases, but they never touched them. Talagang pinakita lang yung, siguro mga ginagamit sa mga experiments, sa mga laboratory. So, they never have the chance to touch it. In Europe, yung kanilang edukasyon, it became a tool for nation building and maging industrial ready ang mga tao so that they could produce informed citizens, skilled workers for their economy, at yung nakaka-access ng educational system ay ang masa. We have the model, Humboldtian model. Kumbaga naniniwala siya na dapat ine-emphasize na yung pagsasama ng research and teaching. Kasi nandyan na ang industrial influence. There are rise of factories. Kaya, we have to require basic literacy, numeracy, and discipline. So, state-funded, age-graded, age-appropriate yung ituturo natin. Sa mga university naman, laboratory work, empirical evidence became the standard. Kaya yung pagkakaiba ng educational system dito ng Philippines and Europe, this gap between these two is where exactly the propaganda movement was born. When the Ilustrados, the enlightened ones, the educated ones traveled to Europe to study, so na-culture shock sila. Rizal realized that Spain was teaching Filipino to be submissive in the Philippines, in Manila. The Spanish professors in Madrid were teaching liberal ideas about life, property, liberty. So, yung exposure niya allowed him to apply European critical thinking to the colonial situation ng Philippines. Kasi yung difference kasi, Philippine system, static, makaluma, medieval, designed to prevent change, while Europe was dynamic, progressive. Talaga it fuels the fires of their industry and nationalism. Political context, influences that affected the locals, particularly Rizal, liberalism, ideals of freedom and equality. Yung mga liberals normally believe that government is necessary to protect individuals from being abused by others. Though, they are also aware that the government itself can pose threat to liberty. Pero, nililimitahan na nila yung influence ng Catholic Church to the political life and education. Kaya, talagang inimpose sila Catholic Church as an enemy of reforms. Ideologies of the American and French Revolution. So, when the Philippines opened, the world trade hello to the ideologies ng American at French Revolutions. Ano ba ang mga balita galing doon na nakakarating sa tenga ni Rizal? Lalo na yung mga ginawa ni Bonaparte. So it gave him the idea to challenge the dogmas of Catholicism. General de la Torres, liberal in governance to Rizal. So his role was really important in the dawn of the national consciousness of the locals. Kasi yung kanyang governance had provided Rizal and others a free view. Ano ba ang isang democratic rule and way of life? Ina-avoid ni De La Torre yung luxury life, having a simple one. Since he also encouraged Father Burgos to pursue the secularization. Kumbaga, hindi lahat ng Governor General ay corrupt, but there is one na maaasahan. Impact of Bourbon reforms. So the policy is in favor towards the Philippines since it will limit the church power. Maging, kumbaga, tighter administrative. Magkaroon ng reform, magdagdag ng parts of government or officials kasi para maging effective. Kaso nga lang, yung changes na yon questionable because lack of ideological coherence in our context. The diverse and frequently contradictory aims of the Madrid policy. Kumbaga, they are struggling to balance the crowns of military aims, administrative aims, fiscal, commercial. Sometimes, yung mga nandito sa Pilipinas na official, they promoted distinctly different kinds of policies for provinces. So, yung ginagawa ng mga official na yun, iba't iba yung polisiya. It gave the people, especially the natives in the Philippines, the idea that colonization could be done without much church intervention. Cadiz Constitution, it deals with the national sovereignty, not coming from the people, not from the king, had the rights to vote, national sovereignty, freedom of press, advocated land reform, and free enterprise. So, aside from this kasi ay exemption, there is an exemption na of the natives from paying tributes o kaya mag-render pa ng public services kasi meron ng kumbaga dumadami na yung nasa equality clause nila. Kaya yung sovereignty in the people, recognize the equality of all men and the individual liberty, and again granted the right of suffrage or to vote. Now, I wanted to hit the friars since the friars are always making use of religion not only as a shield but also as a weapon, protection, citadel, fortress, armor, etc. I was therefore forced to attack their false and superstitious religion in order to combat the enemy who hid behind this religion. God must not serve as a shield and protection of abuses nor must religion. For Rizal, being exposed to liberal ideas, tas balik niya na Pilipinas, hello injustices, it is regressive, incompatible because the friars use religion to justify malicious behaviors. Yung forced labor para daw kay God. So, cultural suppression para daw kay God. Violence para daw kay God. So, yun nga, yung revolution na nangyayari from other countries motivated people to follow, especially sina Rizal and friends, to pursue freedom, independence for the country. Siguro yung unique feature ni Rizal is that he did not only know the valuable information about his society, but also had a quality of a mind that helped yun na magamit niya on a way that he could think about what was going on in the world and of what might be happening within himself. So, meron siyang sociological imagination. People can view their inner life career in terms of larger historical forces. Those who possess this quality of mind can understand their own experiences by locating themselves in history. They can recognize the responses available to them by becoming aware of all of the individuals who share the same situation as themselves. Because people who cannot locate their lives in history are unlikely to know how to respond effectively to a world in which the lives of people around the globe are interconnected and in which one society's problems are part of a larger global problems. On the other hand again, those who have sociological imagination can grasp history in the context of realities they face and the connections between the two. So, Rizal had this quality. He knew his place in the greater scheme of things. He understood the societal forces shaping his life and thus able to respond in ways that benefited others. And that's also this activity will be given naman to you on and face to face.